Chapter 1. The Stranger Husband. Bright white light. The smell of antiseptic. Distant beeping. Luca Carter. Ford opened his eyes to a world he didn't recognize. His head pounded. The ceiling above him was unfamiliar. The bed felt too soft. There were no memories, not a single one. He blinked slowly, and then a warm hand took his. Luca. He turned his head and was greeted by a man. Tall, devastatingly handsome, eyes too intense for comfort, and a suit far too expensive for someone just casually visiting a hospital. The man smiled, like he'd waited centuries for this moment. "You're finally awake." "Who are you?" Luca rasped, throat dry. The man squeezed his hand. "I'm William, your husband." Luca stared, then slowly pulled his hand away. "Sure you are. Welcome to paradise, or prison." The hospital discharged him 2 days later. Apparently, it had been a minor accident, just a mild concussion and some bruises. But the bigger issue was the amnesia. Luca couldn't remember anything. Not his name, not his birthday, not William, not this mansion-sized penthouse in the sky. "Is this mine?" Luca asked, mouth open as he walked through endless marble halls, glass walls, and luxury furniture. "Ours," William said, one arm protectively around his waist. "We've lived here together since our honeymoon." "Right, of course. Honeymoon. Wow." He turned and whispered to himself, "Did I marry a Bond villain?" Domestic chaos. Romantic overkill. Luca tried to survive his new life. Every morning began with William gently waking him with kisses and breakfast trays. "Darling, you love blueberry waffles," William would coo. "I have no idea what I love," Luca snapped, shoving a waffle into his mouth. "But fine, they're good." Clothes tailored to his body. A walk-in closet he apparently owned. Assistants, drivers, chefs, and a private doctor on call. And William, who acted like the most doting, overachieving husband in existence. "You like sitting by the garden window with a book in the morning." "I do?" "You hated the blue velvet in the living room, so I changed it to ivory last week." "Sure I did." Luca narrowed his eyes every time William said something like that. It was like the man knew everything about him. And Luca? Luca knew nothing. The wedding. That never was, or was it? 2 weeks later, William suggested a getaway. "A beautiful villa on a quiet island," he said. "Maybe being surrounded by familiar places will help you recover your memories." Luca, desperate to feel something, anything, agreed. What followed was the most romantic, suspiciously choreographed trip of his life. A private beach, a sunset boat dinner, matching silk robes, and then a soft ceremony, just the two of them, barefoot on the beach, whispered vows in the wind. Luca thought it was all part of some therapy, but it wasn't. It was a real wedding, a legally binding one. And Luca signed it all, trusting the man who claimed to love him. Sarcastic amnesiac versus possessive husband. "So tell me, William, did we always bathe together, or is this your way of helping my recovery?" Luca asked, half curious, half suspicious. William just smiled as he holds up a towel. "You used to insist I wash your back." "I'm this close to smacking you with the shampoo bottle," Luca replied to that. "Even in amnesia, your sass survives." "I love that about you," William said. Luca groans dramatically. But despite all his sarcasm, Luca couldn't deny the little things. The warmth in William's voice, the steady comfort of his scent, the way he tucked Luca in at night and kissed his forehead like he was something sacred. Luca didn't remember their love story. But William was determined to write it again, from scratch. Even if it was based on a lie. William's secret monologue. Late that night, William stood at the window, watching the city lights with a glass of wine in hand. Behind him, Luca slept peacefully. He whispered, "You don't remember how much you hated me. That's good." A soft smirk curled his lips. "Now I can love you the way I've always wanted, without you running away." His fingers brushed over his wrist, where a small tattoo matched the one on Luca's. "I'll take such good care of you, my alpha. You'll never want to leave me." He turned, walking silently back toward the bed. "And by the time your memories return, you'll be too much in love with me to care about leaving me." Chapter 2. Married to My Enemy. It had been 5 months since Luca woke up to a life that felt like a fairy tale made by a slightly unhinged romantic billionaire. And still, he remembered nothing. No past, no rivalry, no childhood, no memory of William, who insisted on being his husband and treated him like something to be worshipped. But now, Luca found himself adjusting, worryingly well. Obsession and love in every detail. William Carter didn't just pamper, he devoted. Each morning began with a kiss and breakfast in bed, tailored to Luca's preferences that he didn't even know he had. "Almond milk instead of dairy," William would say, setting the tray down. "You hate dairy first thing in the morning." "Oh, do I?" Luca would reply, biting into his toast. "How convenient that you remember everything for me." William just smiled, like he didn't even notice the sarcasm. That's what husbands are for. Everything in the penthouse, every book, every mug, every pillow, seemed customized for Luca's comfort. Even his home office had the exact chair model that matched his supposed work posture. Luca didn't even know what he did for a living. Until one day, he asked. And William answered so casually, "You're the CEO of Ford Industries." Luca blinked. "I'm a CEO?" "The second largest conglomerate in the country," William said proudly. "Your company, still under your name. But until you're fully ready, I've been managing it for you." "I see." He didn't see, but he nodded anyway. The phantom rivalry. As days slipped into weeks, flashbacks began to surface. Brief, blurry. A tense boardroom, raised voices, someone yelling, "Stay out of my market, Carter!" And the man yelling looked like himself. Luca's heart always pounded after those dreams. Why did he and William feel more familiar in conflict than in love? But he never said anything. He didn't want to confront what those memories might mean. What Luca didn't know was that William already knew. He knew everything, and he was just waiting. The golden leash. Despite his growing suspicion, Luca started working again, mostly from home. William allowed it happily. He even said, "You were always a workaholic before. I admire that about you so much, even now." But the moment Luca began pushing himself too hard, William stepped in. "You need rest, darling," he said one evening, plucking the tablet from Luca's hands. "I need to finish the quarterly." "Hey!" William just swept him up, literally, from his chair. Luca squawked. "Are you serious? I'm working. Put me down." William sat on the couch, Luca in his lap like some fussy, overpriced cat. "You're still recovering." "I've been recovering for 5 months." "Exactly. Your body's healed, but stress can delay mental recovery. You need calm." "I'll calm down after I finish this report." Then came the pheromones. Warm, thick, heady. They filled the room like velvet smoke, surrounding him in comfort and heat. Luca's resistance weakened instantly. He blinked slowly, his head lolling against William's shoulder. "You drugged me again." "It's cheating. It's not a drug, my love. It's my pheromones. You like them." "I don't," he yawned. "Like being sedated with scent. I only do that when you act reckless, and besides, you're safe and you're mine," William whispered, gently stroking his back and kissing his temple softly. And Luca fell asleep in his arms. Again. Suspicion wrapped in love. The next day, Luca stood on the balcony, watching the skyline. Something wasn't adding up. Why was William too perfect? Why did he always seem 2 steps ahead? Why did everything feel designed? He stared at his own reflection in the glass. Who was he, really? He had no idea. And yet, the longer he stayed, the less he wanted to leave. Because William, dangerous or not, felt like home now. William's office of secrets. Late at night, William sat alone in his private study. He tapped his finger against the pages and smiled faintly. He still doesn't suspect, he whispered to himself. He doesn't remember that we were enemies, that he hated me, that he threatened to destroy me. He looked toward the hallway where Luca slept. But he belongs to me now, my alpha, my husband, my everything. He stood, closing the folder. Even if he remembers one day, it won't matter. He's already too deep. Chapter 3. Falling for the Devil. The days blurred into soft mornings and intimate nights. Luca had stopped questioning every detail of his life, at least on the surface. Even with no memories, the man claiming to be his husband had turned out to be attentive, obsessive, possessively kind, dangerously tender. William. He did everything. Cooked when Luca had midnight cravings, massaged his temples when he worked too long, and held him close like he was something fragile. And maybe, just maybe, Luca liked being treated like that. Maybe the way William whispered mine wasn't so suffocating anymore. But at night, Luca's mind drifted with flashes he couldn't place. Snippets of shouting across boardrooms, slamming doors, cold glares from across polished office tables. Rivalry, competition, not love. Luca knew deep down that they were never meant to be husbands. Still, he didn't say anything. And William already knew. He always knew more than he let on. He was playing along, letting Luca settle into a life that was clearly sculpted by his own hand. One night, everything changed. Luca had returned from a solo outing, something rare under William's watchful eye. William didn't scold him. He didn't even raise his voice. Instead, he greeted him at the door like a man starved for touch. That night, William didn't hold back. The bedroom was dimly lit, their breaths tangled between slow kisses and desperate whispers. Luca, overwhelmed, tried to push him away when William's lips brushed against the side of his neck, right where his scent gland was. Don't. William, you can't. I'm an alpha. We are not meant to bear permanent marks, he whispered, voice trembling. I can, my love. I can give you my permanent mark, William breathed, eyes glowing with something primal. And I will. You're mine, Luca. You've always been. And then pain. Burning, searing pain that made his body jolt. William was marking him, a permanent mark, the kind that alphas were never supposed to take. Because alphas weren't built for it. Their scent glands couldn't hold a permanent bond mark like Omegas could. And yet William, an Enigma, the top of the food chain, could. He wasn't bound by the rules of biology. He could dominate even an alpha. He could knot them. And he did. The knot was unbearable. Luca cried out, biting into William's shoulder to muffle the sounds. He wanted to scream, to claw at the sheets, to beg for it to stop. But then William released his pheromones. Thick, potent, soothing. Like being submerged in warm water, Luca's pain dulled instantly. His muscles relaxed. His body betrayed him. He clung to William as the heat of their bond pulsed through him. He didn't understand what was happening. He should have been angry. He should have shoved him away. But instead, he whimpered against William's skin, dazed and trembling, as William kissed his marked gland and whispered, "You're mine now. Forever." A month passed. Luca hadn't spoken about that night. He pretended it didn't affect him. But something had changed. He felt weird. He couldn't handle strong smells. His appetite was strange. He cried at a cat commercial. And one morning, when William found him curled on the bathroom floor, pale and breathless, Luca whispered, "I think something's wrong with me." William only smiled, knelt beside him, and brushed back his hair. "There's nothing wrong," he said. "Everything is perfect. Too perfect." And that terrified Luca more than anything. Chapter 4. The Revelation. The mansion was quieter than usual, but Luca's mind wasn't. His body was sore, tired, and oddly sensitive, the phantom sensation of William's mark pulsing faintly against his neck. His days had been a slow burn of gentle love and suffocating care. Cooked breakfasts in bed, heated baths with rare essential oils, long naps tangled in William's arms. William was unbearable sometimes, but he was never cruel, never angry, always there. But something had started to shift. The vivid flashes weren't just dreams anymore. They were memories. His memories. A boardroom, heated words. William shoving past him. A smirk, a challenge, a deal, a rivalry. 2 alphas, 1 war. And now? He was married to him, marked by him, carrying his child even though he is an alpha. The mark still throbbed. Luca stood in front of the mirror, brushing his fingertips over the bite. It shouldn't have been possible. Alphas couldn't be marked, shouldn't survive it. Yet William had done it, smoothly, perfectly, painfully, intimately. He wasn't an alpha. He was something else. An enigma, the top of the chain. Rare, dangerous, dominant. The door opened behind him, and there William stood, shirtless and casual, holding a glass of warm milk like it was the most normal thing in the world. "I thought I'd help you sleep," he said with a smile. But Luca's blood boiled. "You lied to me," his voice cracked. William didn't react. He only stepped closer, calmly placing the glass on the nightstand. Luca's breath hitched. "You're not my husband. You were my enemy. You took advantage of me when I couldn't remember." William's eyes softened. "Yes, I did." That stunned Luca into silence. William slowly closed the distance between them, then leaned down, nose brushing against Luca's neck, and he exhaled a warm wave of pheromones. Instantly, Luca's legs weakened, his fight melting just enough to make him listen. "I knew you hated me," William whispered. "I knew you would never let me in. But I also knew you were mine. You always have been." "You manipulated me," Luca said, voice trembling. "I fell in love with you first," William replied gently. "Even when you were trying to take everything from me. Even when I hated you. And so you decided to own me. I decided to give you everything I had. My name, my home, my scent, my mark, my child." Luca flinched. The reminder of what was growing inside him was like a slap, a soft kick, a twisted truth. "I should hate you," Luca whispered. "But you don't," William said, stepping back. "You're still here." Luca stared at the floor for a long moment. He remembered the laughter, the nights tangled under silken sheets, the way William rubbed soothing oils on his feet, the way he scolded him for skipping meals and smiled when he pouted, the way his touch always turned Luca's brain into static. He was already in love. He was already ruined. "I'm pregnant with your child," Luca muttered. "How could I possibly hate you now?" William's eyes widened slightly, his chest rising as if he didn't expect Luca to admit it aloud. "I want the truth from now on," Luca added. "You'll have it. Every last part of me." Luca sighed and turned away, curling onto the bed, exhausted, physically and emotionally. William didn't push further. He climbed in behind him, gently pulling him close. And this time, Luca didn't resist. Chapter 5. The truth he'll never know. Luca sat by the sunlit balcony, a hand resting absent-mindedly on his stomach, eyes distant but calm. The doctor had confirmed it again that morning. He was pregnant. An alpha, pregnant. He still couldn't able to believe it, but it was the truth. It still didn't make sense biologically, but nothing about William ever made sense. The scent mark at the side of his neck still pulsed faintly, aching whenever William was away too long. Their bond had grown stronger, deeper. William's touches lingered like flame, and his pheromones, intoxicating and addictive, kept Luca grounded, comforted, safe, and confused. Sometimes Luca would wake up in a cold sweat, fragments of memories flashing through his head. Screams, a crash, the scent of blood and metal. But then William would appear in the doorway, warm smile and calm gaze, wrapping his arms around Luca like he always did. He would kiss Luca's forehead and whisper, "You're safe now. I'm here. You're mine, and I'm yours." And just like that, the doubts melted. The truth, but not for Luca. Somewhere beneath that perfect life, far from Luca's knowledge, darker truths thrived like shadows in a well-lit room. William stood before the private monitors in his study, watching the CCTV replay of that fateful day. The crash. The one he orchestrated. He adjusted his cufflinks slowly as the video looped. He had bribed the ambulance crew, bought the hospital, replaced every file, every test result, every scan. The concussion had been real. The accident had been very minor, but the memory loss had been maintained. His team ensured Luca stayed confused long enough for William to execute the plan. Every scenting moment, every soft-spoken whisper of "we're married," every fake marriage certificate filed under false records. The luxury penthouse had been real. The care, the attention, real too. William had made sure of it. Because his love wasn't fake. It was just possessive, overwhelming, inevitable. He stood by the bed now, watching Luca sleep peacefully, one arm curled around a pillow, the other over the soft swell in his belly. William leaned down and pressed a kiss to Luca's temple. "You'll never know the truth, my love," he whispered, his voice calm, loving, and terrifyingly final. "Because I'll never let you go." The Enigma's eyes glinted under the soft light and glowed yellow. Outside, the world kept spinning. But in here, in their perfect cage of love, William had already won.